I got to tell you, T, we've been distracted here with the Nick issues. And let's face it, there's no way I can get on the air if it doesn't involve the Jets or the Jets. Listen, let me take a step back.
And get like emotional. I know what you mean.
Yeah, like even doing the Super Bowl shows for 9 years. Well, not last year because of COVID, but the 7 or 8 years we went to the Super Bowl as a national show. We always get there on Monday. I can't talk about the Super Bowl on Monday. Tuesday, all right, roll in the Wednesday, all right, Tiki.
We wouldn't talk about the actual Super Bowl till like Thursday or Friday for maybe a segment or so.
Can't do it. It's way too early. But I will tell you about this Super Bowl without getting X's and O's and schematically all nerded up here. I am most excited to see Burrow. I am most excited to see Joe Burrow. The more you watch this kid, the calmness, the cockiness, the performance, the presence, the demeanor, that's what I'm. And then you have the sidebar of Odell Beckham Jr. from a local point of view, obviously.
That's who I want to see is Odell Beckham Jr.
You want to see him do really well, or do you want to see him do average?
I actually do want to see him do really well because look, we know our relationship with him in this city, especially Giants fans, where he was the greatest thing in the history of the wide receiver position. And I mean that literally when he was the first 2 or 3 years. And he missed a bunch of games, but he was setting records for receptions and yards per game and touchdowns, like all this stuff that he was doing. And it just went sideways quickly. And then he obviously got traded to the Cleveland Browns. And in Cleveland, when he went to Cleveland, it was almost like we were saying, good riddance. You know what I mean? Yeah, good riddance. Go deal with Baker Mayfield. Go be with your boy Jarvis Landry, and you'll figure it out. And then things kind of they were okay, but he had that groin injury his first year down there, and so he had a 1,000-yard season, but it wasn't really anything special.
He wore the stupid watch.
Yeah,
I don't know why that bothered me as much as it did.
I agree with you.
I'll tell you why. Because to me, it was a continuation of the immaturity that sabotaged his Giants days, which by all accounts he's moved on from.
True, but by the way,
at that point he was still.
But that's why we were saying, yeah, I'm glad that's Cleveland's problem. You know what I mean? And then he has the injury, and it's almost like, man, he's just going to fade into nothingness. This guy who was a shooting star is going to fade into nothingness in Cleveland because Baker Mayfield's regressing as a quarterback and they can't find a way to get him the ball. And he's getting frustrated by it. And then his pop speaks out. And his pops is saying all these things on this like highly coordinated video that clearly his dad didn't do by himself. I mean, maybe he's a tech genius. I don't know. Maybe he is. Who knows? But whatever it is, it ended up creating controversy where he ended up getting released, and now he's on the market. He clears waivers, and then he can sign with whoever he wants to sign. And he goes and signs with the L.A. Rams, who were good this year, but always felt a little vulnerable, right? They couldn't beat the 49ers. They just, like in our minds, we still think to that Super Bowl back in 2018 where the Patriots just outcoached them and, kept them to 3 points. And it was just almost like, all right, what's he going to do out there? And then it just starts popping, right? All of a sudden, he's got 3 touchdowns and then 5 touchdowns. And, they're saying, well, he doesn't block like Robert Woods, but they're not actually using him like Robert Woods. They're putting him out as a true X wide receiver, and he's balling. Right. And some of the things that have happened in LA were similar to what they were doing in Cleveland. It's just Matthew Stafford is X times better than Baker Mayfield. So he was actually probably right. And so as a result, I see, like, I don't want to condone knocking your quarterback just to get you out of Dodge. Mm-hmm. But it kind of worked. You know what I mean? Like he was in a place where he was stuck in Cleveland, and it was not going to get better for him. He worked his way out of it, which doesn't happen in the NFL. It just simply you don't hear it. Like you hear it in NBA. You don't hear guys working themselves out of a bad situation in the NFL. He worked his way out of it, and he found himself at the perfect spot with an offensive coordinator and actually head coach who gets his skill set, uses him properly, and as a quarterback that allows him to just be wide open and follow that path, that roller coaster of emotions with him. Yes, and no, get the hell out of here, and no, and now
he's on the way up.
He's on the way up. Exactly. I'm almost rooting for him.
You think Giant fans are?
I don't know. I
want to get into that today.
I do too, because I think
some Giant fans.
I think some Giants fans are like still saying he was horrible for us. But I think a lot of them, and I know some of my friends have been this way, are like, man, we should have just kept him and dealt with it. Figured it out.
If they kept him, it wouldn't have worked out. They gave him too much of a license to be immature
Yeah.
and to be a bit of a knucklehead without any sort of, response that by the time they tried to reel him in, it was this social media monster, not to mention a guy who was pretty good when he was right.
That's right.
And you're just not reeling that guy back in. You've got to be humbled. You've got to go to a couple of different locations as we've chronicled here. I'm looking at it from my point of view. If the Jets had a wide receiver that was a first-round pick, our own guy, drafted, developed, set the record book ablaze immediately. This trajectory toward Jerry Rice and Canton, undeniably. And then bounces. But it ended because he was petulant and he was, egotistical. And by the way, the Giants made mistakes as well. I'm not dropping this all at Odell Beckham Jr.'s doorstep, but we know what went awry. Would I be rooting for him? Probably not.
No.
I'm going to be honest with you.
No.
I would feel scorned.
I also feel like
I would feel it would still be raw.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think I'm not saying I'd root against him.
Do you think he's misunderstood?
Oh, I think it is Corey's a really good guy, really smart, cares about the game, good person.
Do you think that side of him gets illuminated enough?
No, well, it's starting to now, and he actually took ownership of some of his early missteps. Once somebody does that, now I see with a totally different light. I respect that. But he brought a lot of the problems on himself. Let's not make excuses for him.
Yeah.
The Giants were a mess, but he brought a lot of the problems on himself.
Here's an example that I remember from my Super Bowl year, BT, in 2000, Kerry Collins.
Yep.
Like Kerry Collins, we knew that he had turned his life, right? He had become, he'd stopped drinking. He's been sober, dry for however long that was. What was that, 2000? So 21, 22 years or so. He's been dry. But in the moment in 2000, everybody's like, oh, that's that alcoholic that got arrested and, had a bad relationship with his team and his teammates. But when he got to the Super Bowl, I remember this, because we had him up on the podiums, and you'd sit up on the podiums, and everybody be asking you questions.
Of course,
he completely owned it, and he crushed it, and it changed, I think, the narrative about him in ways that allowed him to go forward in his career. And so, what you're talking about with Odell, this stage, because he got to this stage, he can own some of his immature behavior from earlier. He's still balling, obviously, and so it makes him likable. Because there was a point in his career where you just didn't like him. Right? You wanted to because he was so good, but you just couldn't make yourself like him.
Think about it was in Philly when he did he feigned urinating on the high. I mean, what are we doing here?
I agreed.
Impossible to like him at that point.
That's right.
Yeah, and he's turned it around. He's owned it.
Yeah.
It took him a while, but he's taken ownership of his early missteps, and they weren't. I don't mean legal missteps, but perceptual missteps.
No, he hasn't had
childish. No, that's why I think. Well, there was the one. Who cares? But what was the one thing? It was like in the middle of everything. Remember, he was in Paris, I think, with a model, and there was like what appeared to be a blunt. Like anybody cares about that?
Yeah.
Well, who cares?
Yeah, that was that before the NFL said we're not going to even test you guys?
By the way, speaking of testing, Major League Baseball's not testing for steroids.
What the hell?
Load up, boys.
What the heck?
Load up, man.
Yeah, I do remember that. It was like, he's smoking a blunt. Yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Most people said whatever.
Yeah, I know. But it's an interesting ride for Beckham. Again, I'm not a Giants fan, but, the other team in the building, the other tenant, I can only imagine where my emotional range would be.
But I think it's
and at this point, I would be more amenable to seeing him. I wouldn't actively be rooting for him.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't mind. I think I've moved on a little bit if I'm a Giants fan.
I think it's a little bit different if he was a Jet, because the Giants had success. Like most immediate success prior to that.
It's always different with the Jets.
It is, but seriously, different. Like if the Jets had won,
the Jets have been bad for 10 years.
No.
But so have the Giants. But at least they have a championship.
Just think how your mindset would change if the Jets had won Super Bowls in the last 15 years. You know what I mean? And you have this one player who's supposed to help you get back to, but he doesn't really. You'd be like, all right, whatever. You know what? We won Super Bowls already. We're good.
Well, think about how we felt about Al Toon, and Al Toon's career ended because of the concussion.
That's right.
Imagine if Al Toon went somewhere else because he played his way out by being immature.
That's right.
I get it. I get it. And by the way, I'm very curious about the way Giant fans are leaning on this. I want to get some calls early. 877-337-6666. I mean, are you rooting for him? You might be. Sonny's in Malvern. First up on the fan. Tiki. What's up, Sonny?
What's up, Sonny?
Hey, guys. Good morning. Thanks for taking the call. Appreciate it.
You got it, pal.
First, Tiki, I got you back. Stephen A. definitely crossed the line, but I got you back, and that's the end of that.
Yep, it's all good, man.
And I know you're too classy to address it, so I really appreciate that, Chief.
Appreciate you.
and your buddy did the talking for you, which is great because he's has friendships.
BT's
with
my
guys.
brother,
I think
man.
you guys handle it the right way. So great job. I know Boomer and Gio want to,
they want to stir the pot.
Yeah, but
it's all good.
They're a different show.
Exactly.
Anyway, as far as I could speak on a lot of Giant fans, my age, old school Giant fans, nobody's rooting for Beckham. The younger kids, they don't care. They kind of like that. It's entertainment purposes. But you got to go back to the very beginning when Coughlin was still the coach and he went out of control with the defensive player. Who's that with? Remember?
Josh Norman.
Josh Norman. In that Carolina game.
He was absolutely insane on the field. I've never seen a player like that. Number two, the dog peeing like a dog, like you said. The boat ride the week before the
kicking net.
And it's different if he would have backed it up. But
hey, Sonny, let me ask you this, though, Sonny.
Yeah.
Like, we know that because BT and I were alluding to this, he was immature. Like, we know he was immature. And sometimes when you're, like, snap your finger famous, because that's what he became, right? He was good in LSU, but I don't think we didn't know him nationally at LSU. He comes to New York, like this massive media market, and literally becomes snap your finger famous. And he let it get to his head. And he was immature. And now he's owning it, and he's a baller right now. Like, can't you? I don't want to say forgive, but like get past the immature stage and realize where he's grown to. You know what I mean? I think that's why I feel like I want to root for him.
Yeah, you know what, Tika? I'm watching him, and we've seen him a lot with the Rams, and I'm very surprised that you haven't heard anything from him.
Yeah.
And I'm happy for that. You know what I mean? Like, definitely people can change. The thing that I didn't like, and the worst thing I think that he committed is when he got his huge contract, right?
Yep.
Which I didn't agree on. I don't think they should have given that. And then he goes on air and he kills Eli Manning.
That's
throws
right.
him under the bus.
That's funny.
That.
Sonny, that is the thing that kind of gets swept to the corner of the room.
Great point.
That's, we run through the litany of missteps, and we just mentioned a bunch of them. We didn't mention that.
Yeah.
That was probably the most egregious of everything.
Isn't it? Wait, so now he's done it twice. So he did it with Eli.
He did it with Baker. Watch out, Stafford. Don't have a rough first half.
I mean, yeah. So, by the way, Sonny, just on the contract, I think the Giants had to give him that contract in order to trade him. So when you trade a contract, the signing team, meaning at this point, in this case, the Giants, absorbed the bonus money. So, therefore, the Cleveland Browns get Odell Beckham essentially on the cheap because it's only the base salary that they're absorbing. They're not taking the bonus money. So, all that prorated money came to the Giants. Mm-hmm. So, I think the Giants had to do that to incentivize a team to take Odell Beckham
That's
Jr.
True.
Otherwise, he wasn't going to get traded.
That's why I hate the contracts in the NFL.
Oh, dude, they're horrible.
Oh, my God.
They're horrible how they work.
877-337-6666. Hunter's in Wantagh on the Fan. What's up, Hunter?
Hey, guys. Tiki, just wanted to say I'm in Charlottesville currently.
Oh, wow. Wahoo, wow.
Nice win last night.
Win last night. That was amazing.
That win last night was amazing.
Oh, that was awesome. I was just waiting for them to lose it in the second half.
I think they were going to show it away.
But then they had a huge shot at the end. That was awesome.
That was an incredible game. I was yelling like a maniac. But, yeah, I just want to say, so I'm a younger Giants fan. I listen to the Fan all the time. I don't call in that often. But I always hear a lot of the older crowd, not to slight them, but are always yelling at Odell and, like, his antics and everything like that. And I think that, Tiki, your point just before was huge. Like, he came to a New York market as such a young guy.
Yep.
And snap your finger famous is serious. And, when you're – how old was he, like 22, 21? I don't know.
Oh, well, then I think he was 21. I got to go look, but I think he was young.
Just about, yeah.
And so, being a 21-year-old kid, like, like, how can you blame him for being passionate on the field and making some mistakes here and there? I mean, ultimately, like you guys were saying, he's a baller. Like, if we had him on the Giants now, like, he would probably make Daniel Jones look amazing.
Yeah.
Like, we'll just call it what it is. But, yeah, I just wanted to address that.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
no, I appreciate it. Yeah,
Gotcha.
he was 22 his rookie season with the New York Giants.
Great talent, man. Incredible talent.
He Rookie of the Year. Offensive Rookie of the Year. He averaged 108 yards a game.
Jeez.
He only played in 12 games, 108 yards a game and 12 touchdowns.
I mean, when you look at it, it's got to go down as, I'm not saying the greatest disappointment, but when you look at where he started, at least in recent New York sporting lore, to start there and to now be in a Super Bowl for a different team, it's like Revis winning the Super Bowl with the Pats.
Yeah, you're right. But Revis's exit was a little bit different.
Well, it was totally contentious, contractual.
Yeah.
He was always
all money.
chasing the
It was
money.
all money.
And every year he put them through this.
Yeah.
Then they brought him back. They gave him the ridiculous contract, and he was absolutely shot.
Yep.
And he really stopped caring about football. And, of course, that's when we got him back. 877-337-6666. Tiki and Tierney on the Fan. All right. So, oh, by the way, I just saw a tweet from Woj. It doesn't quite constitute a Woj bomb, but the fuse is lit, and it very might, very well might impact the Knicks. We'll slide that in, but we're obviously going with the Beckham stuff, getting you ready for the Super Bowl. Tiki and Tierney until 2. That is Carton Roberts on the Fan.